Good afternoon. This is Mr. M with episode 2 of Working in Saudi Arabia 101 for Dummies. Now this topic is a large topic, so it may take 2 and maybe 3 videos. And this is called Bringing Your Family to Saudi Arabia. Now this, with a caveat on this, meaning this is not for those who get hired on an international contract and sign it in Britain or America or something else, which will be governed by UK or American state law or English law. This is for those who work in the smaller level of not top tier companies. Now your contract really isn't worth the money it's written, the paper it's written on. Why? Because it's written in Arabic and you don't have someone in your country who specialized in Arabic law, or if you do, it would be very expensive. But having worked in the Middle East for many years, I was always paid. I was always paid on time, except a couple of times in Saudi Arabia where I was paid late, but I was always paid. So that's not a major issue, but it can be for some people. Never was for me. You have to make that decision. The best thing you do is research that company, research anybody who's employed by them or ex-employees to sign. Now, the next important point is to figure out whether you're direct hire with the company or you work directly for the company. If you work directly for the company, you can often make twice as much as if you were a direct hire and then sent to that company. I'll give you an example of that. You sign a contract. You're going to work as a pipe fitter, engineer, instructor. And so, fine, they tell you you're going to work in X city. Now, if you work for the recruitment company, they sell you on to that company that you'll work for, and the recruitment company will only get your IGAMA, provide your accommodation, provide the terms as the contract and the money. But they have to make money. They're in business. So where they make their money is in the difference between what they pay you and what the direct hire pay their staff. That's where they make their margin. So here's an example. You work for company Acme as a direct hire. Simple and straightforward. You work with Acme company doing the same job as their direct hires, but you're lent out by recruitment company X. So you could be doing the same job, but you'll definitely be on less money. Sometimes a third less, a quarter less, but most of the time it's 50% less, and often it's much more than that. So make sure you find out who you're eventually going to work for. When you're subcontracted out, or even sometimes direct hire, you may be told, won't be in the contract, oh yeah, you can bring your problem there. Mafi mushkala, which means no problem. Now in Saudi, when someone says mafi mushkala, you know there could be a problem. And what happens is you work there 3 or 4 months and you say, hello, and you finally find your PR officer in the company, and he says, well, the rules have changed. You're not making it, or you're not making enough money, or the situation is such that we don't have accommodation. So just make sure of that. Again, beware. Next, your flight home. With direct hire, the company that you work for, or the institution, pays for you to fly. But say you work for a recruitment company. Say you're flying from Jeddah to Joburg. So what happens is send return ticket to Joburg, okay? But what often happens is that when you work for a recruitment company, they'll find the lowest ticket at the lowest time of the year and say, okay, this is a price for flying to Joburg. But you go, the money you're giving me is 3x, and it costs 5x to fly to Joburg. And they say, we've given you money, you book your own flight. Make sure about that. And recruitment companies will try everything because they want to increase their margin. Next, accommodation will be in there in your contract. And let me tell you, it goes from very decent to slum tenement level. So try to always ask for pictures or video or something, but that's not always proof. The next is the cost of schooling. The cost of schooling is very expensive. So unless you're with those top tier companies that really we're not involved with here, If you're in the Philippines, India, Pakistan, etc., leave your kids at home. Bring the wife if you want to, but they'll get a much better private education in your home country. Britain and America, it won't be the choice. They'll stay in government schools unless you have enough money to, or had money from before to privately school them. Now the next thing, and I'll finish with this, is your wife. Now your wife, unless she has a particular skill or ability that's needed in Saudi, it's going to be very hard for her to get a job. That's especially true with Saudiization, which I'm going to talk to you in another video. But we'll come back to that, except to say that it's often, people will say, well, it's easy for Arabic wives. It's often harder for them if they come out, because Arabic society, Lebanon, Jordan, Egypt especially, is family and social orientated. She's used to going in the market, she's used to being with her relatives, drinking tea, studying, etc. That's all gone. She's not going to mix with Saudi people, whether she'd want to or not. So she's going to be lonely. Often the Arabic wives of expats are the loneliest. Right, now that's it for this part, except to say a little bit more of an update on the Free Richard H. campaign. Momentum's growing. People have contacted me. We've had a lot of hits on the video which I made, and then people have contacted me through social media. I'm always concerned that this video could be taken down by some sort of authorities. But with Richard, what's happened is that today, early June, his case has bounced back for the 5th time to Riyadh, I think it is. He keeps informing the Foreign and Commonwealth Office, but of course, no one's come to visit him. But hey, we explained that in the first video. Hey, welcome to Britain Nadesh. That's about it. So, but there's a lot of support for Richard. It's growing. I'm growing. In the next video, you'll hear more information about the Foreign and Commonwealth Office and more about what I will allude to later in detail, where the British government, the EU, and the USA government are spending, listen to this, $20 million to lobby within Saudi Arabia through a PR firm to release a Saudi royal who is being held. So the British Foreign Office won't spend a farthing to help Richard, but they're willing to kick in with the Americans and the Europeans $20 million to lobby to get a Saudi prince away from home detention. And I can tell you that his home detention won't be like Richard's. So until next time, remember, keep logging into Working in Saudi 101 for Dummies for a continuation of the subsection, Bringing Your Family to Saudi Arabia. Bye-bye, masalama, rahmat, nani, ajordui.